Well, Russell, thanks again for joining me today on Lights Camera Austin to discuss
Yeah.
Hierarchy. And I believe you shot Hierarchy in Austin and other places like Waco and Seguin, St. Marcus back in 2021. And I know it had a limited theatrical release last summer. But how does it feel bringing Hierarchy to the Hyperreal Film Club on July 25th for Austinites to have a chance to see it on the big screen?
Yeah, it feels good. I mean, this movie's kind of always had a legs of its own, and obviously it having a limited theatrical run and doing really well on streaming. It's always great to kind of now that the pressure's off and the performances have already kind of uh, been documented, and we get to actually enjoy it and just sit back and relax and share it with the community here. Where it was shot in the
Mhm.
Austin area, so that's always really a really dope treat. Yeah.
Is this the first time you've screened Hierarchy in Austin proper since its release?
No, so we had a cast and crew screen.
Mhm.
Yes, actually, since its release. So right before the release, we had a cast and crew screening. It was like 300 plus people there. It was great. After that, the movie released. We did do a small private screening for other producers, investors, connectors. People on our network that we wanted to invite out to check it out. And so, but this will be the first time we're screening it. Um, kind of, just for general, general public, for people and for everybody to come see, which is really awesome.
Mhm. So, Russell, hierarchy is very much about what it means to be part of a family, in this case, a foster family. And that sense of family, or at least a chosen family, kind of informs the film. You made the film with two other Texas State alums, your friends, writer and co-lead Chidadera Uzu Wulu and co-lead Xavier Alvarado. So how did you guys get to know each other while you were at Texas State, and how did you sort of end up, making films together?
Yeah, so we actually started out just by playing ball. We were playing ball at the recreational center, and I'll just put this out there. I was definitely dominating them. They couldn't guard me. No, I'm joking. I think both those guys play collegiate ball, and they're great. But we always have fun just playing ball at the rec. And Xavier, actually, we met the first time because I had done a video for some other organization on campus, but it wasn't like a regular, boring kind of commercial like video. It was it was like a Get Out themed style video. That was back in 2015 when Get Out was going crazy, and so he saw that online. It kind of went viral online at the university, and he saw it, and he reached out to me, and he was like, "Yo, it was something about the way you shot that really made me see that you have like this really particular eye and this ability to make something that was actually pretty standard actually be intriguing." And so we met each other, and we talked in at Subway and had a meal, and we became close ever since. And then we were working on this web series on campus, and they were having it was me and Xavier that was working on the web series. They had to recast for one of the characters, and one of those characters that we recasted for, when he walked in the door, it was Collins. And we were very familiar with Collins. We call him Collins. His name is Chidera, but we call him Collins. We're very familiar with him because we're like, yo, we play ball with you at the rec. You act. We didn't know you were in the film industry world, and so that was a really great kick. And so ever since then, from 2017 on, we've been really close.
Okay. And at that time, Texas State didn't really have a formal film program, correct? So
No.
you were studying business, and you were doing screenwriting on this as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. So I was studying business. I have a BBA in business marketing, and yeah, that was kind of the major focus. And Texas State didn't really have a film study or film school like kind of like it has now.
Hmm.
I think it's evolved a little bit more. And so, but yeah, I mean, we'd always been doing projects on the side, after classes. I think Collins is, he's majored in engineering. Xavier majored in, I think, PR or public relations, something like that. And we never, really took classes or anything like that, and we always did stuff outside of school and just made short films and stuff like that. But yeah, I did do some minors. It was technically a theater minor because they didn't offer a
Hmm.
film minor. But I only took like the film related courses like budgeting and scheduling, or screenwriting with Sydney Rushing, who is the greatest screenwriting teacher I've ever had. He's the reason why I think I'm, a writer today and thoroughly enjoy it because of Sydney Rushing. And then, but all the other courses were, kind of just your basic entry level courses that we were kind of already doing on our own outside of the studies.
Mm. So Russell, you and Chidera and Xavier sort of going in, I don't want to say blind into to making your first feature together, but you have not had, you didn't sort of have the practical experience of being on set and knowing how a film was made, as a crew member.
No, actually,
Mm?
it's quite the opposite. We
Yeah.
we had several years of experience, like three years actually. I
Mm.
mean, since 2017 when we all met together on that project on that web series. We worked after that for 3 straight years. I think we did like 3 or 4 short films,
Oh, okay.
in that time, 3 to 5, I believe. Three with all three of us, and then me and Xavier, we did like a couple of our own off to the side as well. And so we we had a community in the Austin San Marcos area, and obviously I had been doing stuff outside of Texas, Texas State as well. I'd be going to San Antonio for a web series and just doing work, DP work here and there. And so very familiar with what it was like being on set, but it was our first time running a production of that size. That was from our own project, and kind of just rallying the entire community around to get it done. And so that was the first for us, but we were very comfortable in that process, kind of going into it just because of the community that
Mhm.
we had.
So Russell, Hierarchy is written by the film's co-lead, Chidera, who plays one of the two master criminals and thieves in Hierarchy. So talk a little bit about sort of the script. At what point did sort of Chidera come to you and say, "I'm writing this script," or you said, "Hey, I've got an idea for a film. Are you interested in directing if I write it?" How did that process play out?
Yeah, it was it was funny actually the way it worked out because it was actually supposed to originally be a short film. As soon as I graduated in August of 2020, he sent me a script or an idea. He just said, "Yo, I want to do this idea." I was shooting a short film. Once I wrapped that short film, he sent me the script and it's like, "Yo, I want to do this before I leave to LA," because he was moving to LA. And then Xavier caught wind of it and he read it and he was like, "Yo, this is a 30-page short. Why are we filming a 30-page short? Let's just write more pages and make our
Mhm.
first feature." And so, after kind of going back and forth, we actually decided that that's what we're going to do. And so we really only had about a month and a half to do pre-production. It really wasn't a lot of time at all. We gathered our community around us. A lot of people in the area really kind of liked the quality of work that we were doing, and then they wanted to be a part of something that we were doing. And so we were able to get a lot of people on board just to donate, give resources, even community people who had cars and shops and stuff like that. Like they kind of donated their time and donated a lot of stuff. And so it was a lot of blessings and a lot of people that came in, with their time to make that film happen. But yeah, that was a very short process, and it really wasn't hey, the script is done. The script was We went into the film really not having a finished script. We went into the film actually changing the script as we were filming because of budget restrictions. This is an $80,000 movie. You don't get the luxury of, knowing exactly what you're going to go into it because location people say, "Oh, sorry, we can't do today." On the day that you're supposed to be there, and you got to kind of figure things out and rewrite the script. So that a lot of maneuvering was happening on set. So there never was a locked script, but since Chidera and I have worked together in the past, I always, was down to take on anything that he was wanting to do.
Mhm. So, Russell, how did you help Chidera sort of reshape the script from a 30-minute short into a feature that runs somewhere around 90 95 minutes? What was your input as director in terms of the story and
Yeah,
expanding it?
yeah. I think a lot of the things that, like, I think at first going into it, the script was very, it was fleshed out in some sense, but it was very skeletal. It was a lot of action. But for me, I'm the type of filmmaker that I think the movies is supposed to thrive off of its exposition, off of the things that happen in between time. And so, what I did with Chidera is just basically came on and just kind of assisted in certain areas about where more exposition needs to be placed and how we can actually pull this thing out even further. And Jader is like a natural, brilliant mind at coming up with action sequences. Like that was not even something I had to worry about. And so, you know, but the in between parts and how to flesh it out and how to make it feel a little bit more expansive was something that he and I worked on. And yeah, we eventually got it done.
And the idea of sort of exploring what it means to be a foster child, a foster brother, etc.
Yep.
Was that something that came perhaps from you know, Chidadera's sort of past, or how did you guys hit upon that idea of making them foster brothers and part of this
Yeah.
larger foster family that really does play out thematically in the film?
Yeah, the foster idea, that was all Chidera. I believe he had even some past that was into that. I know that the mother, Frances Pritchett, I know that when he's a Nigerian American, first, second generation, I believe, and so his parents lived and they were born and raised in Nigeria. And when they came over, I think he tells me the story. I hope I'm getting this right. If I get this wrong, he's gonna kill me. But I believe that he and his mother and his family came over, and there was this lady who helped them out, and her name was Frances Pritchett, and she was someone that was like an angel to them. She gave to them, she helped them when they were in need. She kind of took them under their wing, and so I think that character, Frances Pritchett, was something that was very deeply personal to Jadera. And yeah, he sort of brought that into this, and so kind of having that element of being fostered too, and kind of being a person that's kind of in a foreign territory but being taken care of, I think was something that really was deeply resonant for him, and that's kind of why we have that element in the script. But deep, it was something that was you know obviously striking to all of us because like Four Brothers was something that we all grew up on as young kids. You know what I mean? And so that was something that he was also deeply inspired by, and us being brothers as well. Not blood brothers, but blood could make us closer. That was something that obviously was something that we wanted to obviously tap into as well because that mixed with the feel of like Michael Mann's Heat and
Mhm.
the Den of Thieves of the world, and stuff like that is something that we wanted to kind of explore together. We thought that that was a great opportunity to do so.
Mm. And were those two films that you just mentioned, Heat and Den of Thieves, were they sort of films that you look in order to sort of strike the balance between, drama and action? Because you do, the third act, of course, is obviously involves a heist, and that's very well structured and staged.
Yeah, and you hit on something. Yeah, exactly. So like that third act, I mean, it's kind of like once that third act starts, it doesn't slow down. I think
Hmm.
for the last 30, 40 minutes of the movie, it's just go, go, go. That first and second actor, obviously you have a couple of action sequences in between, but a lot of it is just, like I said, exposition. And I think that's where we really, yeah, for me personally, I know Chidera has his inspirations, but for me personally, Michael Mann's Heat, Den of Thieves, those were two projects that I really enjoyed the slow roast of building the characters more. And that's what, kind of the thing that I was trying to get out of the script and extrapolate out of it even more is just, you know, people fall in love with characters. They fall in love with humans, and they don't necessarily fall in love with the action and the guns and the shooting and stuff like that. And I think we have a market right now that's really pretty saturated with that kind of content. And I know that for me personally, even though we shot this a very long time ago, we shot it in 2021. It didn't release until 2025 because we wanted to, we were avoiding industry predators and all types of bad deals, but while we were shooting it, I still had enough cognitive to know that I didn't want this to lean into the typical arena of a lot of the stuff you see on streaming, which is kind of just passing time. I wanted to make sure that I tried to involve as much as possible as I could on an $80,000 budget, enough story, enough character development elements that'll create sort of this attachment, you know what I mean, for audiences, and I think that was probably the thing that maybe made the film stand out, because it wasn't just an ABC action, wall to wall film.
Hmm.
It had a little bit of elements where you can kind of like attach yourself to some of the circumstances that these characters were in. So
Hmm. So Russell, in Hierarchy, Chidadera plays the role of Stone, engineer by day, master thief by night. And Xavier, he plays Reach, an accountant, brains of the gang. Um, and obviously, we're supposed to sort of get to know both characters, get to know them well. But at the same time, as much as we would like them, they're also criminals. So, what's
yep.
the challenge that you and Chidera and perhaps Xavier as well faced in sort of taking bad guys and making them and helping the audience sort of identify with them and root for them in the circumstances that they find themselves in? Because there are
Yeah,
other bad guys in the film other
yeah.
than Stone and Reach and their crew.
That's interesting. Is the term bad guy
Hmm.
is a very bad guy, good guy. It's a very
Hmm.
interesting take. And I don't know if I really went into the project trying to make the audience feel uh, specifically like these were the bad guys or good guys. I think we live in a world that's a little bit more complicated than that. And I think that the thing that I was just trying to I guess infuse is a question, and that
Hmm.
is, do you support what they're doing or not? And I think that that's the only question, that I think that I was interested in, and not painting them as a good and bad, because I mean they do things that are not good, and then
Hmm.
they have good motives in one sense, and then in another sense they don't. And so for me, the idea was, what does it look like when greed is attached, to the soul, to the mind, to the spirit, and what does that look like? And to me, that just looks like something that's like an invisible thing that kind of takes place and happens without you really recognizing it and realizing it, and you create really great excuses as to why you're doing it, and to what that looks like and why you should do something. And there's obviously the past of them not having enough because of them being foster kids, and and it's just a lot of different elements that I think I wanted to explore, and didn't necessarily want to paint them as good or bad. And
Hmm.
I think that's actually ultimately up for the audience to decide. And I think that the more, yeah, like I said, I think the thing that I was more interested in was what greed looks like, and what it drives an individual or individuals to do, and how greed is it's kind of permeated all throughout different sects and different places. There isn't one size fits all. There's the police force and the governmental force, right? And we can kind of see elements of greed kind of infused in sort of that storyline. You can see it with the main brothers. You can see it kind of all over the place if you're paying attention. So I
Hmm.
think that I think that was something I was really excited about exploring, is this spirit of greed and what that looks like, across the film, and then yeah, letting the audience decide who they think is good or bad, and who's doing the right thing for what reason and for what cause.
Hmm. Russell, we're going to talk perhaps about a continuation of hierarchy in a minute, but that kind of the good side, and I don't want to give away what that good side is. It's hinted at in that third act, but is that something that you would want to explore in a sequel?
Yeah, I think that there is going to be a sequel, and I'll speak to what the writer, what he intends for it, because whether I'm a part of the sequel or not, I think that's something that definitely is a part of the DNA and the metadata of the story, and that is what these brothers, the yeah, I guess the good side that you can pull from what these brothers are doing and why they're doing it, and
Hmm.
and how that connects to them and their past. And so yeah, I do think that that's definitely a primary element that's going to be definitely delved on and explored, and at least from my understanding. But it ultimately is it's Chidera's decision, as the writer, to ultimately come to the direction that he wants to go in, and what he wants to explore a little bit more and extrapolate on a little bit more on that second edition.
Hmm. So Russell, just kind of keeping along the lines of a sequel, again, without getting into spoilers, the film does open the door to a sequel. I'm
Absolutely.
curious, you know, you said that you were still writing the script. You hadn't had a finalized script when you started shooting. So was at what point did you make the decision? Okay, this is how we want to end the film and sort of tee up a sequel, or did you have a traditional ending in mind, and then at some point you just said, okay, there's enough here to explore in another story. Let's kind of end it here and just pick up where we left off with the sequel.
Yeah, there's two things that's happening right there at the end.
Mm.
There's one thing is Chidera is a huge um, he's a huge fan of spoilers. I'm sorry, Chidera is a huge fan of cliffhangers.
Hmm.
He loves them. He writes them quite often, and I think he knew going into this that he was gonna want to create sort of an element that we could branch out a little bit more and create sort of a franchise. I think he was very smart in knowing how to do that, and intentionally doing that. how it turned out to be what it is and how the ending actually came about, really, again, it goes back to that budget thing where, you have several ideas and how you want this thing to play out. None of them feel like they're working because they all feel, everything kind of starts to change, and the film is molded in different ways as we keep going, because like I said, because of our budget, we didn't have a lot of certainty around what was going to be locked and not, because each day presented different issues and different problems, and the script had to constantly be changing even while we were shooting. And so it's just a very scary thing. But at the end of the day, also, I think there was a lot of trust put in me to know that, hey, like if we get these elements, and these elements, we'll be able to walk away with something that we can tell. And so the ending sort of kind of became clear to us, I think, maybe like 10 days before we wrapped. And we were like, no, it has to end this way. There is no, for me, and I felt, a sense of peace with that, because there is no end to greed, right? There is no, it's a cycle. It's a cyclical thing, and I think that there's no bottom to it. And I think that Stone sort of hints at that, in his voiceover towards the end. And so from a while some audiences are like, why would you end it that way? Like, oh my gosh, like I want to see more. For me, even if it landed, even alone, just as a part one, and it never had a part two, I think that sort of silent, yet I will, admit, an annoying sort of ending, sort of lends to like this never ending cyclical nature of what it means to spiral, and what
Mhm.
it means for for you never even to have a grasp on something that you really could have done away with, to begin with. And sort of this idea of it always consistently dragging you down and pulling you down, further and further. And so I think that it worked sort of twofold, and but like I said, it was a lot of things at play, that came to that ending, and it was really a spare of the moment idea that we kind of landed on and said, you know what, it's going to work. It's going to be a multifaceted ending where it can work for a sequel, and it can work for a franchise opener, and it could also work as a standalone as well. And
Mhm.
so I think that's kind of how we sort of came about with that ending.
So Russell, has Tadera written the script for a sequel yet?
Oh yeah.
And so,
That, yeah, that much
and,
I do know. I can't say a lot about what
mm,
the sequel was gonna
mm,
bring. We are, respectively so, after the first movie, are kind of busy as well. I know, particularly me, busy with other projects and other films, and things that I'm wanting to also bring to light, and do from a personal level. But yeah, I think Chidera, yeah, I think I can say that much, so that there is a second installment written, and he's actively pursuing, making sure that can get off the ground. So that
okay.
much I can say.
Okay. So, but at this point, Russell, no financing in place, no idea when that could possibly shoot. If it,
Yeah, I don't think I can give that those
hmm
specifics. I think
hmm
there are definitely options. I will say there's options on the table, and
hmm
it's all about which one is going to be the best move, not only from a creative standpoint. And by the way, I'm also speaking for Chidera here, and so
yeah.
I think that it's fair to say that he probably would want to speak for himself. But I will say that, knowing him, the best decision is going to be made for not only his career, and not only for where this franchise can go, but the options that are on the table, he's going to make them, he's going to make his decision in a way that best fits all of those different things. And so that much I can say.
hmm So, Russell, what other film projects do you have in the works in that case? If Hierarchy sequel is not in pole position.
Yeah, I have a project right now that I'm working on. Actually, that's being packaged right now, and we're actually seeking investment at the moment. And we have some promises, and but like I told you earlier before we
Mhm.
hopped on the call, there's a deal is not done until the deal is done. So, but yeah, I have a sort of this psychological horror thriller that explores a grieving wife and her husband after they lost their 3-month-old baby. She starts to unravel when she starts to experience her husband's doppelgangers showing up out of nowhere and attacking her,
Oh wow.
and she doesn't know. No one believes her, and she's trying to convince people that this is actually happening, and so she has to figure out what's going on herself. And so that's a story that I'm exploring, and it has a lot of meaning and weight to it. At the bottom of it, at the top of it, it's this commercially viable, like exciting blockbuster thrill, but that has its horror elements to it, but deep down there's a very uh, exciting, culturally resonant message. From a relational standpoint, a marital standpoint, that I think is going to really do really well in today's market. And so I'm really excited about hitting that, and yeah, kind of exploring what those ideas. And it's something that I did right, and so I'm excited about getting something out there that is indicative of something that's truly coming from a writing directing approach from Russell Reed. And that's the part I'm really excited about, for people to see that. And so yeah.
Mhm. Is that something that you could likely shoot here in Austin?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have a couple places on the table. We have Texas on the table. We have Oregon on the table. I think those are the two bigger. Oregon only for the typography, but we have leads in both, and both are very much possible at this stage right now.
Mhm. So, Russell, Hierarchy represented your feature-length directorial debut. I'm kind of curious, what lessons did you take away from making Hierarchy that you can apply to your next film? Hopefully the horror film that you mentioned, or even to the Hierarchy sequel if you're able to get that off the ground.
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that before. What things can I take from Hierarchy moving forward? I've uh, again, Hierarchy was an $80,000 movie. A lot of people say it looks like an $8 million movie, and it going number one on Stars, dethroning John Wick's Ballerina, and doing number four globally on Netflix, and I'm sorry, number one in 14 countries on Netflix. It's one thing that I've learned is that not being so quick to have to do um, an extremely large budget movie. I'm excited about getting to that point, but I think this next movie, what I'm excited about is obviously scaling the budget. Obviously, we did the 80K film. We're not doing that again. That's not happening again. But I'm excited about taking still a low budget considerably, right, anywhere between that $4 to $10 million range, and executing on something and knowing that I can execute on something with smaller resources than a typical filmmaker can have, because I'm able to direct and DP as well. I'm a DP, I'm a cinematographer, I'm a producer. I've had to produce a lot of our short films, or produce Hierarchy as well, to help to get it off the ground. And being a writer also myself, like being an editor, I edited the movie Hierarchy. And so I think all of my skills and my the things that my expertises are going to really lend itself into, I think, my entire career moving forward, because I think I know what I want to see. I know what I want. And Hierarchy is, even though it came out recently, it's still pretty far removed from who I am today as a filmmaker. And I'm really excited about kind of all the things, that I mentioned, all of those roles, seeing what they look like today, knowing how much more fine tuned my techniques have gotten. And so I think those are the things that I'm going to take with me, and also understanding that community is more important than more important than a lot of people think. You can get really far with really great people on your team, and that's something that I'm always going to want. I don't want divas. I don't want people that are gonna, feel higher than thou. I want people that are excited about the project. We're gonna take care of them. Obviously, you're gonna get taken care of. But I want artists and people that are gonna enjoy kind of giving their A game, and not even knowing what a B game is. That's the thing that I think I loved about the first movie, is our community had that sense of identity with us, and so definitely want to bring that into our next one.
Mhm. So, Russell, one final question. You shot
Mhm.
Hierarchy about 3 or 4 months after you graduated from Texas State, and at that point, Texas State didn't have its own film program. So, what ties do you currently have with Texas State, and sort of as a film director, a filmmaker? Have you gone back to Texas State and sort of had a look around and see what they're doing in film, and have you had a chance to sort of go out there and talk with some of the film students about your own experiences?
Yeah, actually, yeah, we had a screening at Texas State, actually. And I think earlier I said we hadn't screened it in Texas. I think this is our first, like, still going to be at Lighthouse. This is going to be our first,
The hyper real one. Mhm.
yeah, exactly. Everyone can come out and check it out. And so it's going to be a mixed audience of of a lot of people, but the one at Texas State was only just for students. And so, yeah, we did go back. We did have a really great time talking to the students. They were so thrilled that we were there and, just blown away at what we were able to accomplish. And I think it definitely gave people, a sense of, uh, feeling encouraged at the fact that, oh my gosh, like these guys are literally from the stomping grounds that we're from. And if they can do it, we can do it. And all we really need is our community to rally around us, and we need a strong vision, and we need a strong will, and the sky's the limit. And so I think that that was really exciting to be over there and kind of pour into those students and see the zeal and the excitement that they have for storytelling and film. And so yeah, we still have very close ties. Our actually one of our producers actually works at Texas State still. He's still very well connected, even when he's not, teaching and being a professor over there. And so we're always going to have really close ties, and we just got great friends and great people over there who are professors that love us. And so, yeah, Texas State is pretty supportive of what we're doing, and we really appreciate it.
Terrific. Well, Russell, thank you very much for joining me today on Lights Camera Austin to discuss your film Hierarchy. Good luck when it screens on the 25th of July at the Hyperreal Film Club.
Thank you so much. Oh, is it screaming on the 25th of July? Wow, that's great. That's actually a month right before the initial release last year, which is really dope. So that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So 3 p.m. Sunday, July 25th at the Hyperreal Film Club. Well, good luck with the
So
screening.
thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.